This episode of the DolphinsTalk.com podcast is sponsored by Caneswear. Caneswear.com is the spot where Miami fans shop. That's Caneswear.com. Caneswear.com, the best and most affordable gear for the Miami Dolphins, the Miami Marlins, the Miami Heat, the Stanley Cup champion Florida Panthers, all of the professional and college sports teams in South Florida. Caneswear.com has you covered. If you're in South Florida, you can visit the storefront at 2655 South University Drive in Davie. They ship internationally as well. So Caneswear.com, make it the place. It's the best and most affordable Miami Dolphins gear. That's Caneswear.com, Caneswear.com. And don't forget about Dolphins Talk Extra. Go to patreon.com/DolphinsTalk for additional Miami Dolphins content. You get extra access to our private Discord server. You get bonus podcasts covering the Miami Dolphins. You get off-topic content as well. We have live watch-alongs. We have retro rewatches where we watch old games and talk about them. We do off-topic shows. We have prizes, contests, all kinds of exclusive access only for Dolphins Talk Extra subscribers. So join us, patreon.com/DolphinsTalk. You can join the fun for as little as $3 a month. Head on over to Dolphins Talk Extra at patreon.com/DolphinsTalk. And now, on with the show.
You're listening to the DolphinsTalk.com podcast, the most listened to daily Miami Dolphins podcast on the internet.
Miami's got the Dolphins, the greatest of all.
Come on, Dolphins fans. Time to fins up.
We're in the air, we're on the ground, we're always in control. And when you say Miami, you're talking Super Bowl. Cause we're the Miami Dolphins, Miami Dolphins, Miami Dolphins number one. Miami Dolphins, Miami Dolphins, Miami Dolphins number one.
Hello, Dolphin fans, and welcome to another episode of Dolphins Talk. My name is Marissa Marino, and today I am joined by a very talented and special guest. He really needs no introduction, but I'm going to give him one heck of one anyways. I am joined by Damien Woody, 12-year NFL vet, 2002 Pro Bowler, and two-time Super Bowl champion. You can catch him on ESPN, on Get Up, First Take, NFL Live, and all ESPN platforms. Mr. Damien Woody, how are you today?
I am well. Happy to be on the show.
We are happy to have you. That's a lot of accolades. That took a little bit out of me there.
Yeah, listen, it took a lot of blood, sweat, and tears, but I'm happy the way my career worked out in the National Football League.
Absolutely. I wish we could say that it was part of the Dolphins, but it's okay. Happy that it went for you the way it did, and you're here now. So everyone who's watching, make sure you follow along. Damien provides great commentary and insight on his Twitter page. You can follow him at Damien Woody. So Mr. Woody, if you're ready, we'll get right into it.
Let's get it.
All right. So I'm gonna not start easy. I'm gonna start with the hard one. So recently on ESPN Get Up, you said that the Dolphins' offense is empty calories. What did you mean by that? And do you feel that it is a coaching philosophy issue or the players are not executing when it matters issue?
Yeah, listen, when I said that the Dolphins offense was empty calories is basically, the Dolphins offense under Mike McDaniel, he runs a very innovative offense, a lot of what I call eye candy, a lot of things to kind of distract you from a defensive perspective and awfully to, what essentially is try to gain some type of leverage and put his players in the best position. But ultimately, eye candy can only go so far. At some point, you have to capture the line of scrimmage. You have to impose your will on the player across from you. And to me, that's what the Dolphins had lacked last year, in particular in the running game. Now, I know, Tua missed some time and the run game was inefficient, meaning that, there were times when Tua was in there, the amount of run plays were down. As opposed when Tua missed time, the run plays were up. But what you saw from the Dolphins, not last year, but before previous years, they weren't able to be efficient running the football. That's a core principle of Mike McDaniel. His background is obviously a run coordinator with the San Francisco 49ers. He was known as an innovative run coordinator and really putting his players in position to be successful. We saw in prior years him being able to do that with the run game, but last year took a little bit of a dip. From rushing carries dipped, the efficiency of the run game dipped, and to me, that is the staple of the Miami Dolphins offense, because when the run game is going, guess what happens? Tua is much better. Everyone is much better when they're able to run the football, and that wasn't the case last year, particularly towards the end of the year where it really collapsed, for the Miami Dolphins. So when I say empty calories, for me is more of capturing the line of scrimmage, imposing your will, and the eye candy will only enhance that aspect of the Dolphins offense.
Totally understandable. And, we did lose Raheem Mostert, Jeff Wilson Jr. That running back core now is going to be led by Devon Achane. And we just so happen to have Jalen Wright, second-year rookie, was on the podcast with us yesterday. Jalen's hungry. You can tell. I mean, he's ready. He didn't get as many snaps as he wanted to last year. What do you think of they added Alexander Madison, Ollie Gordon II. What are your thoughts now of this running back room and their possible potential?
Yeah, listen, the one thing that jumps out, they're a little younger, okay? They're younger. They have speed to meet the moment. That's one thing that Mike McDaniel really prioritizes is speed. I think the biggest thing when I talk about the Miami Dolphins and their offense, I look at the offensive line. Can the offensive line really impose their will on people? Because the backs are talented. There's no question about it. They got talented backs. They got backs that can literally take it the distance, but they got to be able to catch the line of scrimmage. And so for me, I look at, can this Dolphins offensive line really meet the moment in that aspect, not only in the running game, but also protecting Tua, because we know Tua is a guy that's, listen, he's missed some time with injury. So it's the utmost importance to protect the quarterback as well.
Absolutely. And you do talk about that physicality. I mean, the Dolphins did make a shift this offseason and try to get a little bit more physical. They signed James Daniels from Pittsburgh. Now we know he is coming off of an injury, but they drafted 3 defensive linemen, including 1 in the first round. And then they traded up to select an offensive guard in round 2. Did that give you some hope that maybe they are changing their approach and style of play to be a little bit more physical?
Yeah, I mean, listen, to me, the GM Chris Greer, that's what all the moves point to. You also got to remember, when I always tell people the easiest road to the playoffs is winning your division. Well, guess what? You have Buffalo in your division. And one thing that Buffalo does well, they run the football. They run the football really well. So if you're the Miami Dolphins and you want to try to conquer the king of the division, you have to have a physicality. You got to make a physicality statement within the division. You got to be able to stop Buffalo's run game, and you got to be able to run the football. And so, to me, those are the moves that GM Chris Greer is making, trying to gear up and bring more physicality, both on the offense and the defensive line for the Miami Dolphins.
Okay, so going into that, do you feel Mike McDaniel and general manager Chris Greer can survive another 8 or 9 win season where they miss the playoffs or don't get a playoff win? Or do you believe both are on the hot seat this upcoming season, where if they fall short, both will be gone?
Well, this whole saying that the Miami Dolphins situation is the one that bears watching the most this offseason, for a couple of reasons. One, since Mike McDaniel has been there with Tua Tagovailoa, they haven't won a playoff game. I mean, think about it. They've put up numbers offensively. There's no question about that. But you have yet to win a playoff game. Can the quarterback win? That's the question that you ask if you're a Miami Dolphins fan. Do you think that Tua Tagovailoa can bring you a championship? Right now, the answer is no. And, looking at this right in the way it's presently constructed, we don't know if this team is built the right way to contend for a championship. Do they have pieces? Yes. They got guys that can go out there and get it done, but they haven't done it yet. And until you're able to A, contend with Buffalo, B, win playoff games, I think you're deserving of having these questions asked about whether you're the right man for the job.
Yeah. I think that's 100% fair. And, It's a lot. I mean, as a Dolphin fan, 25 years, Mr. Woody, that's a long time to be waiting for something to come through. So, we'll see what happens. But let's talk about some more of this with the team too. I mean, when you see as a player, when you see players like Jalen Ramsey wanting out of Miami, Tyreek Hill walks off the field in the middle of Week 18 game last season. When you hear Mike McDaniel saying he's fined players last year and it didn't seem to work. As a former player, do you think that he's lost the locker room? And if he has, do you think a coach can get it back?
Well, I always say that, if you're hearing snippets of that from the outside, it's much worse because
Mm,
usually a locker room kind of keep things contained. So I believe that, there's a lot going on behind the scenes. Again, I'll point to what I said earlier. Four of the captains from last year are no longer on the Miami Dolphins roster. Think about that. Four captains from the prior year are no longer on the roster. That is a tell, in my opinion, about the locker room culture in Miami. The fact that you've had, a guy like Jalen Ramsey who you've clashed with and doesn't want to be on the roster, and all these other whispers about, players, being disgruntled in the locker room. That to me is how are you building your culture? Personnel matters. And so you got to look at Chris Greer and how he constructed this roster, and you got to think to yourself, okay, is this guy the right guy for the job? Because you can't have that type of thing going on, and obviously players police the locker room. But when you have a lot of disgruntled players, there's something brewing in Miami that's not a good thing.
hmm. I know the fans don't love to hear this, but Mr. Woody, we've got to give it to him straight because it's great to have that hopium, but I mean, there's real things happening in Miami right now. And when the good is good, but when it's not so good, we got to talk about it. So,
Absolutely.
okay. So Tua, another polarizing topic of conversation. Going into year 6, we know he must stay healthy and be available. When he plays, we often hear and see quarterback rankings. Where do you rank Tua? What is Tua, in your top 15 quarterbacks right now? Where do you kind of have him?
I have two of my top 15 quarterbacks. Listen, here's what I see with Tua. When things are going great, he's one of the top quarterbacks in the league because he does things that a lot of quarterbacks aren't able to do.
Hmm.
When he plays in timing and rhythm, he's fantastic. There's not many quarterbacks that play in timing and rhythm better than Tua Tagovailoa. But the problem is when the timing and rhythm isn't there, when it's not there on that first or second read, that's what the aspect of Tua's game is that is lacking.
Hmm.
The playing above the X's and O's, the improv, plays that we see some of these other elite quarterbacks. That's what Tua doesn't bring to the table. And I think for me, that will always separate Tua from, being a good high-end quarterback to being an elite quarterback. The elite quarterbacks are able to make plays out of nothing. When things break down, they're able to still make plays. And that's to me is the aspect of Tua game that is missing.
Now, I agree with that, but I do have to ask you this. I mean, we know that Miami's offense is one of the most complex playbooks that what they have out there right now. We also know the O line that Tua has had to deal with has been, I mean, you mentioned it, not good. You take Tua, you put him in a less complicated offense and a decent O line. I mean, do you think we'd be speaking about it differently? Because I'd be hard pressed to think of a ton of quarterbacks that can jump right into the role he's playing right now and run that style of offense.
Yeah, listen, that Mike McDaniel offense is a very complex offense. They have a lot of shifts, motions, things of that nature, and not a lot of guys will be able to handle all of that. I think the biggest question for Tua is availability.
Hmm.
If you're not available, there's no way I can put you at, the upper, the elite of the elite because, elite quarterbacks are available. And
Hmm.
so Tua, that's been his bugaboo throughout his career, even going back to Alabama, is being available. And so for me, the number one thing he has to do, he has to stay on the field. He has to stay available. Number two, Well, here's the thing with Tua. He's very accurate. He's one of the more accurate quarterbacks that we have in our game. And he's a quarterback that plays in tremendous timing and rhythm in our game. But if Tua can somehow just add another dimension that the when things break down and not put himself in harm's way, I think that's the biggest thing. Because sometimes he does do that where he, tries to make a play outside of structure and he ends up getting himself hurt. But if he can add that dimension without putting himself in harm's way, that'll only add to what Tua already has available at his disposal.
I completely agree. We've been preaching self-preservation and 100%. So speaking of that quarterback room, what are your thoughts on Miami bringing in Zach Wilson as their backup quarterback this year? Do you like that move, or do you think they should have brought in someone with more experience who has had a little bit more success in the NFL?
Well, obviously, I follow the Jets very closely, being
Yeah.
that I played with the Jets, and I've seen Zach Wilson. Obviously, he's a very talented individual. Drafted number 2 overall, but he hasn't had a lot of success in this league. We know that he didn't necessarily have the proper infrastructure around him in New York, and then obviously he moved on to Denver and was a backup out there with Sean Payton, and hopefully he learned some things out there. But if I'm the Miami Dolphins, and in this critical year that you have, where you're trying to vie for a playoff spot, and you have a quarterback that's had in Tua Tagovailoa that's had problems staying healthy, is Zach Wilson what you want to rely upon to try to get you over the hump or try to win games if Tua's not available? I don't know if I would feel very optimistic if I'm a Miami Dolphins fan that if Tua Tagovailoa gets hurt, that Zach Wilson has to come in and help us win football games.
Yeah, I mean, fair. I mean, I guess it is an upgrade. I mean, you have to think. I mean, went through like Snoop, Huntley. I mean, we had, I mean, like 4 different quarterbacks we went through last year, but very valid. Okay, so you were a first round pick who came into the league and you started as a rookie. The Dolphins selected guard Jonah Savaianaya in round 2, and he's going to be in a similar role of being asked to start day 1. Actually, Dolphins just put a picture of him signing his 4-year rookie contract today. What advice would you give someone like him in making that jump from college to being asked to start day 1 in the NFL? And on top of that, what do you think is going to be the biggest challenge he's going to face?
Yeah, listen, I know for me, when I remember coming in as a first round pick, I thought I was the top dog, and then I got humbled real quickly in training camp. And so my thing is like you gotta every day just try to get 1% better. Just
Mm.
try to get 1% better. You're not you're at the bottom of the totem pole. When you come in as a rookie. This is a grown man's league. Everyone is the elite of the elite. But the most important thing is just learning each and every day, learning from your mistakes. And I'm sure the guys in that locker room, guys in that room, will help the young man along and try to help him, become an established starter on that offensive line because they're going to need him.
Mhm.
They're going to need him. That's part of Chris Greer's thing is beefing up and bringing that level of physicality on both sides of the ball. So they're going to need him. They're going to need him to start and play at a high level. And so, if I'm talking to the young man, I'm telling him, look, each day just try to get 1% better.
Mm.
Just 1% better. Bring that physicality. You're going to make mistakes, but just learn from it and just improve.
100%. Well, shifting to defense real quickly. On defense, Miami gets Jalen Phillips and Bradley Chubb back to go along with Zach Sealer and Chop Robinson, as well as they picked up first round Kenneth Grant. And now Minka Fitzpatrick has come to us from the Steelers in our secondary. What are your thoughts on the Dolphins defense heading into this season? There's been a lot of questions from people in the media and fans about this cornerback room, but the front seven
Mm.
seems to be pretty solid.
I think, when we talk about defense and you talk about, getting after the quarterback, we always say the pass rush and coverage go together.
Mm.
That's how you're able to get pressure and ultimately sack the quarterback. You got to have the coordination between the pass rush and the pass coverage. And so when you look at the Miami Dolphins, the one glaring weakness is the cornerback position. It's you could make a case that it might be the worst in the league. It could be one of the worst position groups in the National Football League. Obviously, you traded for and bring back Minka Fitzpatrick. a guy who started his career with Miami. And the one thing you will hope for is with Minka Fitzpatrick, he's a veteran. He's always been a ball hawk, safety, that he will help cover some deficiencies on the back end. But when you look at this Miami Dolphins front seven, they got guys that can get after the quarterback. Obviously, you're going to need, Chubb and Jalen Phillips to come back healthy. Obviously, Chop Robinson, a guy who was a former first-round pick from last season, an explosive guy. You need all those guys to get after the opposing quarterback, because when you can apply that pressure, then that will help alleviate some of the inexperience and some of the things going on with that Miami Dolphins cornerback room.
100%. Something that we'll be looking to and see with trade deadlines and all that stuff. What's to happen? I mean, they're going to have to pick up a veteran, I would think, something somewhere. So curious to see how that all pans out. Final question before we get into our speed round here. We are all Dolphin fans. Cam Wake has our heart. And I heard a previous interview you did years ago where you said that former Dolphin pass rusher Cameron Wake was one of the toughest pass rushers you had to block. What made Wake so difficult to go against?
Yeah, his speed, the power was elite. Like he could, his get off on the line of scrimmage and his combination of just power and counter moves, it was, some of the best that I had ever gone against. So every time I went against Cam Wake, it was always a battle. I was always just like, you got to make sure you bring your lunch pail, because Cam Wake was relentless. It wasn't a play that he took off. He brought it every single play. And imagine playing down in Miami in that heat, and you got a guy just exploding off the line of scrimmage. So I have the utmost respect for Cam Wake.
Yeah, goodness, we do too. They don't make many like him, that's for sure. All right. So what we're going to move into real quickly, this is a new thing we've been doing, a new segment. It's the Dolphins Talk Speed Round. And this is going to be 5 questions with Damien Woody. And these are like lightning style questions. And as quick as you can answer them off the top of your head, we'd love to see your answers. So you ready to rock and roll, Mr. Woody?
Let's do it.
All right. Question 1. What team comes in second place in the AFC East this season?
New England Patriots.
Number 2, is Mike McDaniel the head coach at the end of this season? And part 2 to that, is Tua the starting quarterback for Miami a year from now?
I'm going to answer both of those yes.
Wonderful. Number 3, more fun to debate against, Stephen A. or Mad Dog?
Oh, Stephen A. I love Mad Dog, but Stephen A.
Number 4, will Kansas City get back to the Super Bowl this year, or will another team in the AFC knock them off?
You hate to bet against Kansas City. I'm going to go with the Baltimore Ravens.
All right. I like it. Well, I wish you said the Dolphins, obviously, but sounds good. And final question. We always like to throw a food one in there. What is your favorite sandwich and why?
My favorite sandwich? I'm old school. A fried bologna sandwich.
Ooh.
I'm old school. Like that. That's still. I still love that. I love that from my childhood. So
a little bit of mustard on there, or you just go?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, I'm gonna need to get one of those. Well, that was all of them. I appreciate you doing that. You did a great job, and we just appreciate you joining the show and taking your time. We know season is about to ramp up for you, and you are about to be getting after it. Is there anything you've been doing, any vacations you've taken before the season starts?
Yeah, I've done the vacations. I've done, the family vacation, the vacation with the wife. Now I'm just starting to hone in on the season. Training camps are already opened up. I've just gone back and kind of looked at my notes, looking at tape again. And so I'm just ready for football season to start.
Well, we are ready to. So again, everybody, 12-year NFL vet, 2-time Super Bowl champion, Mr. Damien Woody. Make sure you watch him on ESPN, whether it's Get Up, First Take, NFL Live. Make sure you check him out on Twitter at Damien Woody. Damien, any parting words for the Dolphins fans out there that are listening?
Yeah, listen, this is going to be a interesting year for the Miami Dolphins. I think the biggest thing is let's see what Mike McDaniel has. I think Mike McDaniel is still one of the better coaches that we have in our league, and let's see what he can do with this team that he has around this year. Should be a fun ride.
I 100% agree. Well, if you're watching on YouTube, make sure you hit that subscribe button and you hit the like on the video. Leave us a comment. And for everyone out there in Dolphins Talk Nation, we hope you have a great rest of your day, and fins up.
Hey everyone, Mike here from DolphinsTalk.com, and thank you for watching this video. Please be sure to take a second to smash the like button here on this video, and also to ensure you're subscribed to our YouTube channel. We thank you so much for listening, and we know there are a lot of podcast options out there these days regarding the Miami Dolphins and with non-Miami Dolphins podcasts. So we do appreciate you giving us a few minutes each and every day to tune in and listen to all of our shows. Everyone here on staff, thanks you so much. And if you enjoy these shows, also please be sure to sign up for Dolphins Talk Extra, our Patreon service at patreon.com/Dolphins Talk, where we have bonus podcasts about the Dolphins and some shows not about the Miami Dolphins. We have a private message board. We also have a ton of contests where we give away really cool prizes, and it's all for the low cost of $3 a month. Again, that's patreon.com/Dolphins Talk. And also, please be sure to follow the written content we have up on our website. So check out the website, DolphinsTalk.com, each and every day. Once again, thank you again for listening. Take care, and we'll talk to you again real soon.